morning, everybody. This is Chad Tisonik, and we're going to get started on this morning's webinar. And just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Just wanted to make sure that we get everybody what they need today. And if you have a question along the way, what we'll do is probably keep everybody muted out. We have a pretty good-sized group today. And then we'll look at questions as we go, or you can use Twitter. And we have people monitoring that, and we'll get your questions answered live on Twitter, which is kind of a new thing for us, but we're exploring those avenues as well, and that's at HNI Risk. So whichever way, we'll get your questions answered, and we'll also leave some time at the end for group questions, and we'll go from there. So today, we're going to get started on a safety journey, and we're going to take a look at some different things and give you some different thoughts and ideas as far as what to think about. And this sign kind of reminded me of something you'd want to teach people in advance, and you folks are all non-safety professionals, and so I thought this was kind of funny. Sign has sharp edges, don't touch the edges of the sign. Now, if you have to warn somebody of that, there usually is a problem. But also the bridge is out ahead. But they probably put the sign up because people would come and lean on this and get cut. So I thought that was interesting. Here's another one. Please be safe. Don't stand, sit, climb, or lean on zoo fences. If you fall, animals could eat you, and that might make them sick. Thank you. Another interesting safety sign. A little bit about me real quick so you know who I am, where I'm coming from. I looked at the attendee list, and by the way, we've got a lot of great organizations out there today. We've got folks from the manufacturing industry, construction, warehousing, trucking, hospitality, hospitals, municipalities, schools, distributors. We're covering the gamut. So it's going to be a general presentation relative to safety, but I think in the ultimate end, you'll get what you need. So a little background on me, not to get into it too deeply, but that's what I do. I'm the safety and risk person here at HNI among staff of about 9 of us that we go out and work and handle safety and risk and legal-related issues for our customers. So what is an acceptable level of risk? Basically, it's what is prepared to be lost or balanced against possible gains. And each of us has a different perspective on how we risk and what we risk. And as an extreme example, I gave my grandma something she might have said would be a penny saved is a penny earned, and that's not very risky. Or Bernie Madoff on the other extreme, and you'll guarantee a 15% return on investment. Of course, we all realize what happened there. But an interesting quote related to risk from Evel Knievel, who is probably one of the riskiest daredevils of our early times, and certainly passed away now, but interesting fellow. He says, you come to a point in your life when you really don't care what people think about you. You just care what you think about yourself. And that's true as we age and get older. So let's move on. How do people achieve greatness in the new frontier of safety? And I'm not going to read all of these, but these are my personal observations of what I've seen out there for organizations and people within those organizations becoming successful in the areas of safety, and maybe not only in the areas of safety, but just in the area of life and how you operate. And maybe this is a good list for some of the kids coming into our workforce to kind of take hold of and move forward with. But yet these people have a sense of want, and they're thankful and compassionate. They like to ask questions and solve problems. They're problem-based people, they're solutions-based people, not problem-based people. They're ethical, and they say yes. And I'm sure you can think about people and even yourself within your organization and think about the people that get things done. And usually they'll fall into these categories here. This is a picture I took from the podium at the last year's State Safety Council in Wisconsin. And this was one of the largest attended council meetings in recent history. And I happen to be the chairman of that council. And I took this from the podium because it was my last session as chairman. And it just amazed me, the people that are getting into safety, and not just safety people, people like you. And they're moving things forward, and they're realizing there's a return on investment, and organizations can grow and prosper, become better, make more money, be more profitable by controlling their losses and controlling risk within their organizations. So it's an interesting perspective from the podium. Some people are kind of shocked that I asked to take a picture. but they obliged. A little bit on me. I've also had an accident recently. In the last few years, I was struck head-on by a bicyclist while I was out doing my morning health routine. I was jogging at about 5 miles an hour in the dark and had a reflective armband and a vest on, and was struck. I didn't see him, he didn't see me, but certainly something that I learned out of this event was you can be the safest person in the world, yet somebody can still come and ruin your day. So think about that and how you operate and the people that are around you and how they operate. And you do have control over some of the things that people within your organizations can do by training and expectations and attitude and that type of thing. We'll get into that later today. I'm going to talk about a couple of bad cases here to kind of get you warmed up from a safety perspective, and then some good stuff. These first few slides here are of fatalities, and as I mentioned in my bio, I've investigated 128 workplace fatalities in my time, and that's the bad part about what I do. But the good part about what I do is this right here, getting the message out to people that have the opportunity to get the message out to their workforce. Whether you're an accountant or a manager or an owner or an HR person or anybody else in an organization, you still can have a great impact on safety by how you operate within the organization. In this case here, there was a guard that was getting in the way of the operation, and so the operator pushed the guard up out of the way and tried to put a large piece of material into a chipper that wasn't designed for that. And as they put that piece through, the guard caught and actually broke off of the chipper and struck the gentleman so as a fatal injury. Again, guard in place, trying to go around the system, and a bad outcome. So again, unsafe acts are something we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get into that, but these are caused by unsafe acts. This is a plastic injection molding machine. Was not the guard, as you can see, was right up here on the front, was dismantled during the incident and was off, was returned after the fact. But you can see here what happened was a supervisor called up on the back of the piece of machinery and told the operator to shut it down. In a loud environment, the operator thought that the supervisor said turn it on, and the machinery activated and operated. This is a lockout, tag-out type issue that would have easily been avoided by about a $10 lock and tag and a procedure. But again, it's identifying and knowing what these hazards are within your individual facilities to make sure that people follow the safe path when they're doing and working on your machinery or equipment or vehicles or whatever. So interesting things that we come across. Forklifts, of course, about 120 people die each year across the country related to forklift operations. Most of you have some type of forklift or powered industrial vehicle somewhere within your organization. These are things like training and making sure people are up to speed on requirements and looking at hazards and where people can get into trouble. And this here, just the two wheels off of a edge caused the forklift to turn over. A simple procedure in this case would have been a mandatory seatbelt policy that was enforced. In this case, they didn't have one. When the forklift tipped over, the operator is thrown out of the cage and then crushed by the forklift. This would have been avoided, again, by having a seatbelt type policy, something that you'd want to put into play if you don't have one right now. People tend not to want to wear them, but if you enforce it and act on the people that don't, you can change your culture. So think about that. Those were bad stories. Here's a good one, and this organization doesn't mind me talking about where they've been. This organization was having incidents like the ones I showed you previously. They decided that their organization wasn't going to be a profitable going concern if they did not address some of these injury-related costs and behaviors and avoid them and get rid of them. So they went on a journey of re-educating their people, setting new expectations, communicating, collaborating, and coming up with ways to have everybody get on the same page. This was taken just recently. This organization passed the 3-year mark without a lost time injury. Now they have some cuts, they have some things that happen, but Can you imagine within your organization, and you might say, oh, it's not possible. Well, that's what these folks felt. It is possible to go 3, 4, 5 years without a lost time injury. And I've seen it done in the most dangerous construction environments, on down to manufacturing and transportation, you name it. It has been done, but it becomes an attitude. It becomes how people operate, the expectation. Switches from, hey, we have to get this done at all costs, to we have to get this done in a rapid pace. However, you're going to go home at night without an injury. Those type of cultures are created and what caused this organization to be where they're at. They're saving extreme amounts of money because of this as well. They're investing some too, though. So let's kind of get started, look at our goals for today. And again, as every organization's at a different level of culture, I don't expect your organization to be at the high level, but there are different paths you can take to get there. And so today we're going to take off the safety training wheels. We're going to try to understand risk and its role in profit and return on investment and help you gauge where your corporation stands now. We're going to develop a new awareness. And have you think about how you lead. And then there'll be a little homework at the end, and you're going to actually do an assessment if you want to assess where you're at as an organization with a tool that we've created. And then you can set up a personal game plan to identify and address some of those areas where you may be lacking and improve upon that and see where it takes you. But you have to remember, folks, one large incident at your site can wipe out a year's worth of profit. So when somebody tells you in your organization, we don't have time for this stuff, we have work to do, I want you to be reminded of what's here in bold and in blue. One incident can wipe out a year's worth of profit. And I can talk to you personally about cases that I've seen where that's happened and then some. So you have to raise the bar within your organization. It's your attitude that's going to trickle down to the folks within your organization. And if they don't get it, I have to be honest with you, those folks, you have to look at how much value they really provide to you. I've heard a lot of people say, well, that person's the best worker ever. They do the best work. They do the most work. But those are sometimes the people that also cause you problems from an incident perspective. Unsafe people are going to cost you way more money than they're going to make you, guaranteed. So your overwatch counts. You as people interested in safety are taking the step today to participate in this webinar. And you have an impact. And the idea is when you look at this triangle, you have to think, where should we start in our organization to reduce risk and exposure? And this is Safety 101. Goes back to one of the first things they show you when you're in safety school. And you have to look at unsafe behaviors first and foremost, because for every 3,000 of those roughly that happen, you have about 300 minor incidents, 30 severe incidents, and 1 fatality. So if we're going to address reduction of the top tier of this triangle, we're going to look at those unsafe behaviors. What are we doing to identify those and to correct them? Those of you that have people that are outside of your organization on a regular basis that operate individually or independently have to look at tools and ideas and ways to identify if they're committing unsafe behaviors, whether it's a road ID system or some type of system to identify and help you identify where they're at. Then you take that information and follow through with it and make sure that you would correct and adjust those behaviors. That's where you're going to drive down your exposure. Those of you that have fixed sites are going to make some observations and look out and see what are people doing. Just walk around once in a while. Sometimes we get caught up in our office and we don't want to get out and we don't really see what's going on out there. But I'll guarantee you one thing. If you get out and move around and take a look and get inside your operation and talk to people, you'll see some things going on that you've never seen before. The idea here is get in, shake it up a little bit, and start reducing some of those unsafe behaviors. Okay? So, Safety 101, we're sticking with the basics for now, but 90% of all accident causes are related to unsafe acts, things people do. Only 10% of accident causation gets back to unsafe conditions, things out there that are conditions that we don't address. As an example, it might be somebody laid a cord across our floor and didn't pick it up and somebody tripped over it. That, in a sense, is ultimately an act, but the condition of the cord is something we can address. Things like snow or weather, people are going to say, well, that's a condition. That's something we can't fix or we can't control. And I say, really? If you look at telemetry, you look at things that people are doing at the moment of an impact due to weather, they're usually operating at a pace that is unsafe. So that's an act. So conditions, yeah, it's how we react to the conditions is how we look at causation and reduction of exposures. All right, excuse me, I have little pop-ups here happening. All right, so let's look at some more of those behaviors. And what we have here is some of the behaviors that we may have going on within our facility. And by the way, I can post this up on our website or get you individually a copy if you want to email me at the end, or if you want to get in touch with me, it's ctisonik@hni.com, and I can get you this, or you can pull it off our website. Andrea promised that she gets up there, or Terry. So again, these are behaviors that we're looking at that we've seen out there that cost us dollars, and things that we want to identify and address. So I won't read them all to you, but you can kind of get a feel. These are some of the things that cost us dollars, and we can address these. We're going to look at a few slides that I've been lucky enough to take and collect from some of my safety buddies along the way, but we're talking about unsafe acts and unsafe conditions today, and if you walk away with nothing else, those are things you're going to remember, is the acts are what we need to address in our facilities and in our organizations with our people. Now, when you're looking at this photo right here, do you see this as a condition or an act? Now, we have people-related causes and we have equipment-related causes, but ultimately, if there were to be an incident here, this would be an unsafe act. Management did not have a policy or procedure prohibiting this type of behavior, first and foremost. The employee did not recognize that this behavior was not acceptable. The other employees within the facility did not recognize that they need to address this and reduce this by talking to this person and telling them not to do this. So there's a bunch of factors here that we need to incorporate within our operation to make sure that these types of things don't happen. But it starts with policy, identifying what your big hazards are, and then coming up with policy, coming up with training, and then looking at methods for your people to be able to talk to each other and collaborate so that they can not have these things going on. I did talk to this gal, by the way. So, why a safety culture? Let's break it down. First and foremost, we want each and every one of our people to go home safe each and every day. But beyond that, we also want to look at costs. And we want to look at the fact that even a $5,000 claim, based on an organization's profit margin, can cause us to have to sell $100,000 of services. I don't know about you guys, but it takes us a little bit to sell $100,000 worth of services. You know, depending upon the size of your organization, some of you today here are from very large organizations that may be nothing, but it's still, in my mind, something. Because if you have a lot of these claims, it's costing you money. Some of you smaller organizations that are listening in may take a month, or it may take a few weeks or more to sell this amount of services. So this is where you can improve your ROI. So something we want to talk about as part of the process for a person that's outside of the world of safety but getting into it is you have to realize there's some true costs that we can help reduce. So how do we develop a safety culture? And I came up with this AWARE system. And AWARE with the letters of the word AWARE, awareness through communication of the mission. And we have to have top support. So we have to drive behavior change within our organization. Behavior change is not a sticky topic for most people on the rank and file side. You make a change in your organization. I bet you some of you are thinking right now, yeah, well, people just kind of sit back and figure out something else will change, so let's not even participate or let's not bother. Well, that's something that has to change corporately in order to have change stick. You have to figure out what you're going to do, what you want to change, and then stick with it, and then take action on those that don't want to change. That's the only way you're ever going to enforce change within your organization. So A is awareness. W is waste and hazard identification. We're not identifying where we're spending dollars. And I ask this when I go out and meet with our customers on a regular basis. Where are you spending money right now that you don't want to be spending money? And they say tongue-in-cheek insurance and that type of thing, of course. But and we have a few laughs. But really, when you look at it, where are you spending money? Is most of it is going to come from things related to hazards that you can control your costs more so if you reduce your waste and hazard-related costs. Accountability. Having your systems and your people set up so that they're actually accountable for dollars that they're spending on waste and loss will help you impact your culture. If we can take a system where we show that if somebody has an incident with a vehicle or with a forklift or they're lifting a box and they hurt their back, if we can show them the actual dollars that go into that and hold them somehow accountable for those dollars, whether it's a small system that we use like the behavior bank account or something along those lines, you can actually make it hurt a little bit through performance reviews, etc. People need to realize that they're part of the profit and they're part of the loss. So results. We want to have results, and when we do have those organizations that go the 3 or 4 or 5 years without a lost time injury, we're going to show them we've achieved results. We're going to look at sharing some of those results and good fortune with those people as well. We have to let them know that bad fortune also causes problems with job security and other issues, and if we don't get on the wellness train and things like that, that we may have some personal health issues, and that's going to cost the organization money. So think about that. Education, again, keeping people educated as to safety, productivity, and quality. If you look at, I have a triangle that I talk to until I'm blue in the face with most organizations, and a lot of them get it. But an organization ultimately should have a focus on productivity, quality, and safety at the apex. Many organizations are very, very good at the productivity piece, and they're real good at the quality piece. However, they're not so good at the safety piece. And when you actually show them the dollars they're spending, they decide that they want to get good at the safety piece. So good performing organizations get it. They get all 3 areas. So must-haves in a safety culture: management and employee attitude. If the first word out of the manager's mouth is, how many of these did we sell today? How many of this did we move? What do we do here? Why are we getting this done? We're behind schedule. Those are the attitudes and behaviors your employees are going to absorb from you. There are some large organizations out there I can name, like GE and HP and others, that it's mandatory for them to talk safety and risk prior to every meeting, and it's on every agenda. Now, they must get it. They must realize that there are dollars being spent that don't need to be spent. So think about that, your attitude. What is your message that you're sending to your people? Actions in response to unsafe behavior. If somebody does something, do we just chalk it up to just kind of a brain, episode, or do we just say, well, that was, Bob, he just does what he does, and leave him be? Or do we address it and say, no, this can't happen. We have to stop this. If it happens again, we're going to have some issues with accountability. So again, that leads us into the next one, is being responsible for what we're trying to do on an ongoing basis. It will sink in. Setting goals, having the procedures, you're having your people motivated, get them to buy in. And the last thing I want to say is parting ways with bad actors. Can't stress this enough. If you have people in your organization that don't get it, don't want to get it, and you've given them the opportunity to do so, you may look at parting ways, because these are the people, when I go and investigate some of these fatalities that I've been involved with and some serious accidents that I've investigated, more often than not, the HR person or the person in charge of safety or the owner says something along the lines of, we had a feeling, or we were thinking about parting ways about a year ago with this person for something else. And I know things are hard as far as hiring good people, but I've heard this a lot, and this sticks with me even to this day, and I talk about it every time I speak, is don't let bad actors ruin your company. Okay. Here's another tongue-in-cheek photo here. This is a homemade fire extinguisher. This is bad safety culture, by the way. We've had an organization that happens to have the fire extinguisher hanger in place, but the fire extinguisher is long gone, so somebody decided to make a joke and put a bowl hanging that said, in case of fire, add water. So what does this tell you from a safety culture perspective? That the fire extinguisher has been gone for so long, somebody thinks it's funny to actually use a bowl. And although I think it's funny too, that's the safety culture of this facility, is management doesn't care. So how are you operating at your facility? Are you doing the basics? Do you have an emergency plan? Do you, I know it sounds corny, but do you practice it? Do people know where to go? That type of thing. Those are the higher performing organizations that actually go that little bit of an extra step. So one of the things we talked about earlier today was observation and recognition techniques of looking at what's going on out there. And we need to understand what's going on within our facilities. So if you're from a municipality or you're from a hospital or a warehouse or whatever, get out there. Look at what's going on and talk to people. And then, believe me, they'll open up to you if you ask them, hey, I'm looking at some risks and hazards. What do you think? People will give you more than what you're looking for. Just go out and do it. So be familiar. You don't have to be a safety expert, but be familiar with, what kind of standard, what's acceptable, and you'll make a big impact. Look for the attitude in people. You'll find people that want to do good work for you. They're out there. You just got to kind of wake them up a little bit. And so when you see things and it doesn't look quite right, and you want to justify in your mind why you're doing that or whatever, trust your initial impression on something. You see the chains removed from a mezzanine. Don't say, well, maybe they're just kind of moving something today. I'll just leave it be. No, that's a hazard. We got to get that fixed. And tell people why we need to have those chains on there. If we've got an exit blocked or something simple like that we can keep and fix. Don't just keep correcting the hazards over and over again. Talk to people about why you need them to operate a certain way. So know your facility's history and share it. I do this quite often when I'm out at a facility. I'll sit down with people and I'll say, hey, do you guys realize you're having about 40% more accidents here than the industry average? Your mod is 1.40. They look at you, whoa, I didn't know that. No one's ever told me that. Well, geez, here's some things we can maybe do. Those are good conversations to have. So document what you find out there and then correct things and have immediate reactions to things. And that's how you're going to improve your culture. And for the non-safety people, get your organization going in a better direction. Here's another interesting picture of we've got somebody using mom to hold down the mattress, the newly purchased mattress, and somebody else is driving the vehicle, and it makes me think, maybe delivery charge might have been $30 or $40, and I realize we're all cutting costs and looking at ways to not have to pay for extra things and that. But I always look at it this way: a $40 delivery charge, or maybe getting the proper trailer or truck or something like that, maybe $40, $50, what have you. What is the value of a life? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, quite honestly. And I see these quite a bit of people putting themselves in unbelievable amounts of risk over a $200 mattress. And I'm sure you can think of situations in your own life where people have been seriously hurt or worse over something that's minuscule. And it's just not worth it. So although we can laugh and tongue-in-cheek at these type of things, I would say look for ways to correct these. So we talked about recognition of hazards. Now we're going to talk a little bit about training. And I'm a highly caffeinated individual, so I move kind of quickly, and I hope you're all kind of keeping up and getting some good notes. And again, I can make sure and get you this, but I got a lot of information to cover, and I want to make sure I get it all to you and get you some time for questions at the end. So about 43 or 44% of all accidents, this insurance company data, occur during the first year of service, and it goes higher than that when somebody is doing a new task or something that's different from the task they were used to doing. So when you change somebody into a different role in your environment, wherever you are, that person is at risk. So we need to figure out ways to make sure our new people are oriented properly, that we follow up with them, we ask them questions, we have them demonstrate that they know what they're doing, and then we also follow up with people that we change jobs on. We switch them out, have them do something else. Those are our big exposures. Then lastly comes in complacency. It's the people that, I've been doing it this way for 30, 40, 50 years. Nobody's going to mess with me because I know what I'm doing. Well, when you stop changing, you're getting worse because you're not moving forward. And we all know that. Some people don't quite get it, but we need to make sure we have ongoing training. So mix it up. Give them some live training, some one-on-one maybe, some online. Record a video. Sit down, and I've been doing this here this year, is recording short 2 or 3 minute videos that we're posting up on our website, little blurbs on lockout, tagout, or something on emergency planning, etc. That I'm not great at it, but it lets you kind of give a different medium, something you can show somebody, or hey, take a look at this and see what you think. Invite a guest speaker. I go out and speak quite a bit at different organizations, and people seem to respond to somebody new coming in from the outside with a new message, that type of thing. So you have to have your employees own their risk. They have to understand that they own the risk at their facility and the facility that they work in. Because when you think about it, who else in your world is more interested or should be more interested in your safety than you? And I know what you're all thinking. Nobody. And your employees should know this as well. You have to look out for your own safety. Management also has to look out for safety rules, procedures, training, etc. But the employee should also understand, hey, this is part of doing business that we need you to go home in one piece. You need to be responsible for yourself as well. And that's going to be where things are headed here the next 5, 10, 15 years is personal responsibility and the training and getting people up to speed on what they're accountable for is going to be huge. So find out why people work and what's important to them and hit on that. Hey, you have a family. You want to make sure you take care of these people, and you can't take care of them if you're making 60% of your wage. It doesn't work. So teach them the business. They realize there's bills to be paid, and if we have losses, that comes out of our direct profit, and that hurts all of us. Show them waste and how it affects them. Profit equals raises and benefits. People always want to raise, or people always want, hey, we need to have better benefits. Okay, let's all work together and earn it. Let's start with a goal and figure out how we're going to get there. But they have to participate in it as well. Believe me, it'll be sweeter for them too if they do. So again, show them what goes into making a profit, and your organization will be better for it. So use tools to control and monitor behaviors. There's a lot of tools out there. We've got some as well where we can set up systems so people can know what's important and know how to execute it and then be accountable and responsible for those behaviors. So track your results. Again, you'll notice if you have things set up and you track them, what's measured gets done. And if you track things and you hold people accountable, you'll notice a change. We've seen it quite a bit. So you've set up a personal example. Be a leader in your organization. You might not be a safety expert, and we don't expect you to be, but you have some knowledge. You have some business knowledge. You can move forward with some projects, some ideas, some thoughts. If not you, then your organization. Who? The safety director of an organization isn't responsible for safety ultimately. It's on the people and everybody else working within their organization. It always kind of frosts me when I go into an organization and somebody points the finger at the safety director and says, hey, that person over there, they're responsible for it. I said, wait a minute. That's not how it's supposed to work. Yeah, they can help organize things and move things forward and make sure that we're getting the right message across and work on our strategic planning and that type of thing. But ultimately, it's on everybody else. So think about that. You know, if you're out there wearing the proper PPE, you're doing the right thing, you're talking to people, you're setting the example, you're being supportive, you're listening to people, you're showing the attitude. It's a team effort. You have to be a coach, not always a friend. Do you ever have a manager in your world that was like your best friend? Sometimes that doesn't work because what will happen is people want to take advantage of that person and get what they need because they know how to work that person. So leaders may not always be friends within the organization. They can be friendly, but maybe not always friends. Talking about messaging and signs. We talked about some signs earlier today. Here's another one. This sign is actually probably attracting people to this. This is a piping system of some sort near a beach area, and it says don't climb or play on or around this pipe. And pretty much everybody in the entire water area is on the pipe. So it's kind of like, you know, don't look at the snake down here. It's very hazardous, could bite you, and people want to see where it is. So interesting thoughts behind this. Again, something on this line to control this hazard, we would actually maybe have to figure out a way to either move this or protect it somehow, bury it, do some other method other than causing a hazard. You could see something like this that if it got wet would be a severe hazard, and people would most likely come back at the municipality, even though it was their own fault, for their injuries. So you have to protect people sometimes from hazards. So a bit on compliance, and we want to talk a little bit about that because it's really important that compliance is something that safety people should be doing, and if you have some responsibility for safety, you want to make sure that you're in compliance. Because we have such a wide variety of organizations here today, we can't get into real specifics about each specific industry's compliance, but you have things like OSHA, the EPA, the DNR, the DOT, some HR-related compliance things that we all need to do, and there's a whole alphabet of things out there that organizations have to stay on top of. My recommendation is to develop a policy that is covering of some of these things. You know, like as an example, in OSHA, it may have chemicals and labeling and personal protective equipment and fall protection, those type of things that you need to look at and address, and those things are readily available, and we can help you with those as well. But create a policy that covers a lot of these basics, but not too much in depth, kind of an employee version policy, because what happens is if you have this huge telephone book of safety policies, it's no good to anybody, even the safety person or the people responsible for safety, because you don't know where anything is. It goes up on the shelf and it becomes this big, huge book that just sits there. My recommendation, and this has been proven through regulatory that I've dealt with through a lot of organizations, if you have a smaller book and you actually do all those things in that little book, your compliance is going to be way better than this huge, huge manual. So think about that. And give them out to your people. Have them small enough where you can hand them out. Have people sign off that they received them. Keep that sign off. Do training. Keep records of that training. Every time you sit down and talk to somebody about risk, safety, compliance, any kind of training thing, have a training sheet. Write down what you talked about, and then everybody attended that meeting sign it. It shows that you're taking advancements in your program. Also, document that you identified hazards. Every time you find something out there that you fixed, I'm sure you could all think of hundreds of things that along the way you fixed, but never really documented it. If you see something and you fix it, document it. And document what corrective actions you've taken. That's going to help you. That's an affirmative defense when it comes to compliance. And if I have to sit down with you at the OSHA office, or we have to have Don with you at the DOT office, or somebody else, we have to figure out ways to how we can help you. And if we have documentation in place that you've done things, identified things, and corrected things, and had meetings, I can do a lot better job for you in those negotiation meetings where we're going to reduce your citations. So, again, do what you say. You don't need that huge telephone book. The best advice here I can give you, again, is do the basics. Document it and do those basics well. Because what the regulators are going to do is they're not going to come to you, the person that's got some safety knowledge. They're going to come to your people, your warehouse worker, your driver, your office person, and they're going to ask them, hey, what kind of safety training have you received? Hey, do you guys have a safety manual? Do you have an emergency plan? And if the answer to all those things is no, well, that tells them something. Sometimes people forget, though. And if you've done all the things that we're talking about today, and then your employee still says no, but you have the documentation, I can go to that meeting and say, you know what, that isn't always true. The employee did have some training, and here are the records, here are the quizzes, here are the things that they've done. And I can usually get those citations removed in those cases. So emergency plan is huge. Most organizations out there, and I wrote a blog on this recently, most organizations don't have one. You don't need to have a huge, complicated plan, but you should at least have a map. People should know where to go in the event of a tornado. People should know where to go in the event of a hurricane or a fire, and what to do and how to handle it. And so you should practice a little bit, post it. You should know where the first aid kit is and what to do in the event of somebody gets hurt or sick or needs medical attention, or if we have to clean up some blood. Most organizations have nothing. And I can tell you it's much better to prepare in advance and have this stuff. The other thing I want to talk about here real quick is how do we bring all this together? Well, I have an easy system for you to bring it all together from a training perspective and from a messaging perspective. To start with your ad. When you're looking to hire somebody, talk about safety. We only hire the safest people out there. That sends a message to your customers culturally. It sends a message to your new people. That's what you want. Talk about it in the interview process. When you're interviewing them, some of you might already do this, but talk about your safety program. Talk about what you do, how you do it. You're setting the tone. At hire, talk about it again. Have an orientation where you cover safety. We have like a 10-point safety orientation where if you go through that with people, it's a message. You're sending 10 points in 10 minutes with the person. You have documentation. You've given them a good message. Everybody's happy. When you put them in a job, have the person that's supervising them talk about safety. At the review, put it in their review. If they've had a few incidents, talk about that. If they've been operating safely and making suggestions and doing a great thing, talk about that and give them a little extra half a percentage point for that or whatever. But what you're doing is you're helping create your culture at your facility. So your role as it relates to profit, we've talked about most of this. I just want to pick a few things out of here. One of them is if we can reduce these direct costs of loss, that's huge. If we can reduce the indirect costs, which sometimes are many more times the direct cost of loss, it's the downtime, the retraining of somebody, the transport to the medical facility, the minor repair, the damaged equipment, the ticked off customer. All those things are not insured. You're paying for that from having incidents. So we not only reduce the direct costs, but the indirect costs, that's where this stuff really kicks in. So if you can show in your organization by reducing your costs due to loss, how much your organization can save in sales dollars and the ultimate return on investment, your stock as a person within their organization goes way up because you're bringing value. And that's what has to happen going forward is people within organizations that bring value rise up. So let's just kind of wrap it all together here, and then we can throw it out for a few questions. We'll unlock the mic and we'll see what happens. We didn't cover it all today. There's a ton of stuff out there. I just wanted to get you a good basic general feeling for some things here today and to kind of get you thinking a little bit. The basic compliance stuff is out there. It's easily attainable. We're going to show you some tools for that. We had multiple industries here today with multiple hazards, risks, and challenges. We want you to contact us and communicate with us one-on-one if we can help you. So if not you, who? You've taken the first step today within your organization to come up with some new ideas and to take some action. If you don't do it, who's going to do it at your organization? Whether you're the safety director or whether you're not, you've got some slight safety responsibility. Take it on. Take on the challenge. Make yourself part of the safety program. Go to your next level up and say, I want to take on some of this responsibility as well as our safety director, or even if you don't have one, I want to take some of this on. Here's what I want to do. You can make a big impact. So you might need some backup, talking with your management owners, and we can help you with that. Beware of drift back. What happens is you get excited about these things, you do a few things, and then it just kind of goes back to the way it was. It's like any other management tool. You have to force change, and you have to stick with it. If you let off the gas pedal, it's going to head back to where people want to go. It's going to find its own level with the people within your organization. So stick to that change. What we want to do is we want to offer you up, we've got a free assessment. Safety on Call is part of HNI. It's a separate website where we've got the opportunity for people to go and collaborate and also work one-on-one with safety personnel, risk personnel, legal, etc. There's a 27-question survey there that will give you an instant score as to where you're at from some of the basic fleet, OSHA, environmental type hazards and risks. It's real easy. It gives you a score, and it can kind of give you some areas for improvement. And then you can take those, pick 3 good things that you want to do, and make them happen. So I think that's a good place to start and get you some more information. So now we're going to open up the mic a little bit here, and we're going to see if we've got a pretty large group. So we'll see if anybody wants to talk, and we'll go from there. We're going to, I think what we'll do is...
Feel free to type any questions into that chat box, and we'll also unmute anybody that has a question.
Yeah, if you want to talk, you just raise your hand, and then we'll... Okay. People are a little shy, maybe. Well, you can email me over at ctisonik@hni.com, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'll be on the road later today, and I'll do it remotely later today or tonight. Also, we have safetyoncall.com and also HNI.com for more information. There's a lot of free stuff there for you to take and use. So Okay, looks like we have a question popped up. All right, Carrie, thank you very much. Your question is, what is the best approach to get employees to watch safety videos? Well, I think that's a great question, because safety videos are traditionally known by people as kind of, oh, here I go, I have to sit and watch a safety video. It's going to be dry and boring, that type of thing. And I've kind of given up on the dry safety videos, quite honestly, for training. What I would do is create a safety video as part of a training program, but I would look for a video that talks about behaviors and something that talks about maybe some real life accidents and some real things that have happened to people, some interviews. There are a lot of things out there where they actually show recreations of what happened, or people talk about how they were burned or how this happened or that happened, and that's behavioral. That hits home with people. People will want to watch those because they are true. The old dry safety training video, I think those are kind of going by the wayside, but we've actually got some in our library here that are a little more real world and a little more kind of shocking, I guess you could say. But to me, that's the best approach, is use safety video only as a part of what you want to do, and then incorporate that from there, but also focus on what your expectations of your people are. Next question, we've got Shirlane looking for a copy of the presentation. We're going to post that up.
Yep, we'll be posting that on the website as well as the recording of this presentation. Terry will be sending out an email with a follow-up survey, and we'll include a link to where you can download this.
Okay. The survey, again, is going to be based on your experience here today and how you felt that the presentation was. Hopefully you got what you needed. I'm always happy to answer questions or talk with you individually if there's something we can do to help you. That's what HNI is all about, improving awareness, lowering risk, and helping organizations have a better ROI from their safety and risk programs. Okay, looks like we don't have any other questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to, oh, we've got one here popping up. What would be the best way to approach safety training with multiple locations throughout the U.S.? Lynn, thank you. My opinion here is there's a couple different ways to handle it. One is utilizing recorded videos from top management within the organization, and then blending in possibly another video or other medium into it, and then sending those out so that they get a true message from somebody from the organization. Because sometimes what happens is multiple locations tend to feel lost. They tend to feel forgotten. Once in a while, somebody stumbles in for a half a day or a day, talks to them, and then moves on, and they feel like they're kind of on their own. I like personal messaging from a safety perspective for those multiple locations. From there are also offerings that we have where our online training, again, not as personalized, but covers about 150 different areas that each location can set up and take 3 or 4 classes on an annual basis on areas that are of interest to you. And so you can handle it that way. Some of our other customers have a safety week where they travel around and they do the safety training live at those facilities. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to handle it. But I would say start with an integrated approach. Use some messaging from your top management or your safety personnel or your HR professionals to set the expectation with those different locations to all be on the same culture. All right, good. Now they're really flowing in here. All right, we're going to go on to Debbie. How does the safety director or manager come over the feeling you can't lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink? Great question. I would say here, this is the accountability issue. And this is getting down to letting people know that there's a certain level of expectation, whether it's in their performance review or it hits them in the pocketbook somehow, whether there's a behavior bank account type setup where we offer them a certain pot of money that may be small or large, and then if they have any unsafe behaviors or accidents, they get a withdrawal. And this is a program that we have. You can research it more on HNI.com under our blogs. But that is a way, making people accountable for their actions. And somebody that's really not interested, does not want to buy in, I would also have that discussion with that person like somebody had in front of me. It was a president. I was a safety intern 25 years ago at a big company. And I was having a hard time getting through to somebody. So the president said, hey, what's going on? I said, I got this guy. He's just not getting it. So he said, let's go for a walk. So the president took me, and I was pretty unassuming, didn't really know much, And he walked out there and he said, hey, I heard you're not really kind of getting along in line with this stuff here. And he said, you know, if you don't do this, we can't use you. We want you to get it. And from then on, the guy was an A student. He was a perfect angel. And I asked him why afterwards, and he said, you know, it's because I didn't know it was that important. I needed to hear it from the top. So something to think about. And so here again, get some top management support and get people bought in accountability-wise. Get rid of your bad actors if you can. What's the best way to handle multi-language training? Nancy, thank you. There again, it's very difficult. We've got some customers that have 4, 5, 6 different languages. What happens there is the translations, things get lost and that type of thing. Unfortunately, some other language-speaking people don't get the same message. An online training system like the one we have that you can use is English and Spanish and has some, I believe, Hmong and Russian, but very limited. That is a way to have the same course delivered to the people so you're getting the same training. But doesn't always work because you may be missing a language or two. But I would say I would start with your larger masses and work your way down and get as much as you can to the top 1 or 2 language-speaking people, and then do what you can with the lower levels. But online training systems typically have multiple language setups, and to me that's one of the better ways to handle that. All right, Sandy. Do you recommend doing post-interview drug tests and physicals to help identify possible issues in the future with people that might be at risk? Coming from an organization of a 1 point. Okay, gotcha, Sandy. Yes, I do. I believe that the organizations, and this is proven statistics, insurance industry statistics, if you have a post-offer is the proper term, and then for cause, and maybe not even for cause, but for sure post-accident drug testing at your facility, you will identify people because you'll have a sign on your door that'll say, it says, we drug test all applicants. What you'll see is half the people turn around and leave, so you won't waste your time. And you're avoiding a bunch of hazard right there at the very beginning. And then you're going to also identify people if they have an incident, because that's always going to be known to all that if they have an incident, they're going to have to provide a substance sample. And then you take decisive action. A lot of organizations say, well, we don't know what we do with them. We like them, that type of thing. I could tell you stories, and I don't want to go on forever because we're coming up on time, but I would say that you should have a post-offer, post-accident, at a minimum, testing operation within your facility, and doing that by itself will cause you to get better people, and you'll have a greater impact on your losses just by doing that alone. Good question. Well, all right. Just going to give it 1 second here and see if anything else pops up, but those are all great questions. Here we go again. We've got one. Good. All right. How about post-offer physicals for the trucking industry? Here again, I think, Debbie, that is a good idea. What we're doing here is we're putting in systems where we're trying to fit the people to the job. And we want to do this within a legal realm and make sure that we're not discriminating. However, we can have what's called essential functions of the job set up in advance, which means that our people have certain requirements that they need to be able to do. And if you're bringing somebody through and they can't do those specific requirements, it's perfectly within norm to let that person know that we cannot use them within the facility because they would be put at risk for their own safety and for the organization's safety. People are going one of two ways right now out there, and they're going the wellness route, and they are becoming more flexible and active and fit and concerned about their well-being and their inner works as well as their outer appearance. And there are people going the other way that are not in the concerned group. They're going in the less flexible, all the other things I talked about in the less of that category. And those are the people you don't want to hire. And sometimes we refer to those lovingly as the 400 or 500 pound time bombs. Those are the people that we want to try to get help. We want to try to have them be better. If we don't, it's going to cost our organization hundreds of thousands of dollars per copy. So we want to address those immediately. Good question. Great. Well, as always, I love doing this. I would talk to people like you for hours because you guys all are in the mode where you care about this stuff and you get it and you want to make things better. And I'd rather not have to go to do another one of these fatality investigations ever again. And I'm sure I will, unfortunately. But this stuff here is fun for me. So if I talk too fast, I apologize, but I have so much to get out. Oh, okay. Here we go. Larry, thank you. Do you have customers that do post-accident, post-injury drug screens for forklift operators similar to a DOT for a driver? We do. And typically for your fixed site personnel, I would have a separate program. Maybe the easier way to handle it because you don't have to go through quite the stringent rigors of a DOT system. And again, that's going to be more Don in our office here as an area of expertise. But for a fixed site, I would say I would have a system of a minimum, like I said, of post-hire or post-hire, pre-placement, and then post-accident, maybe even for hire. It's an easy program to set up. You have to be consistent with it. Everybody has an accident. You can even add in, Larry, property damage, and this is something that's good for forklift drivers, is if you have a lot of property damage, that's waste, like we talked about, right? That's that MUDA. If we have a lot of property damage, if you damage something, say you could set the rate over $300, you have to submit to a post-accident substance sample test. What you're going to do there is people are going to start to get it, that this stuff costs money, incidents cost money, damaged equipment costs money, wrecked garage doors cost money. If you did it, you're going to have to take a test because we want to make sure we got the best people on our vehicles at all times. Also, another interesting product that's out there while I'm thinking about it is there is some equipment that you can put on forklifts now that has telemetry that samples, kind of like a jet airplane, it samples movement. And if there's a jarring or an impact or an abuse of some sort, it shuts the machine down, and the only person that can restart it is the supervisor. So you know you have to key into it. So you know who is operating that forklift anytime there was an incident. That's a leading indicator behavior modification system where you can talk to people about, hey, we notice you're doing some stuff. We want you to stop doing that. And you can cut yourself a break and maybe not have some of these serious accidents. So something to think about. Good question, Larry. Thank you. All right. If something comes up between now and the time we close out, send me an email. Or we can go on Twitter. We can do it that way too. That might be fun. But it's ctisonik@hni.com. I'm at Twitter at Chad Tisonik, also at HNI Risk. So get a hold of us one way or the other. Call me, however you want to do it, and we'll get you what you need. I appreciate it. All of you are headed on the right path. Keep it up. Don't let your foot off the gas. Make sure that each and every day you portray your safety attitude. Safety is good stuff. Don't forget it. It's going to help your organization. It's going to help your people. Have everybody get on the bandwagon and watch your program improve. Save some money in the meantime. You guys have a great day.